What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today, I have to say, it's been the best weekend ever with fishing stuff. We've made the best finds ever, and we're going to show them off here. This one, finally, I didn't get no rods. I stopped getting rods because I don't have reels for half of them. My next mission's reels. But today, we'll be taking a look at some of the stuff we found. I'm not getting to the good stuff yet. We're going to get into, well, this is good stuff, though. But we're going to get into this first. So, my cousin, during the weekend, Saturday, went yard sailing and bought a Plano tackle box that was filled with vintage saw plastics and some vintage lures. So we decided to buy some of the vintage saw plastics off of him, and this is what we got. We're going to take a look at them together. Ooh. And this is going to be like old school and vintage. Alright. Now, there's a couple of these I've never heard before. First, I want to start with these because there's more of these. These are vintage Bass Pro Shop lures. I can't find nothing about them online. But what I do know is, see if I can grab one. They have these little plastic beads. Well, two little metal beads inside and this hole in their tail. Right there. Oh, I dropped it. There's a hole in the tail. It's hollow. I'm not going to do it now, but you stick that in there, and it makes it a rattle motion when you're using it. Ooh, keep on dropping it. But there's multiple different sizes for these. These are like the small. They almost remind me of the man's gator tail. Cool texture. This is the brown. Then you got this dark blue with the light blue. This is the large ones. They're by Bass Pro Shop. Definitely don't see these anymore. They look very old. Can't find a date on them. See, these got the holes too. All of them do. And then we got a, it's not a brown. It's like a greenish brown color. It's another large one. Nothing really special with this. It's got the tail with the little hole. Then we got one more small one. It's like a neon green, yellow color. Yeah, that's that. I've never seen him before. I can barely find any information, but we're going to skip this one. Get to this one. He had other different colors of these. I don't know what these are. There's no names. It does say something, I just now realized. On the tail. If it focused. It won't focus, but it says something. It says another H&H. Guys, can y'all tell me in the comments what does the H and H mean? Because I've never seen that. But yeah, these are like some, see how big they are. Those different colors, they're all the same size. They got tiny little tails, and they just look weirder. They got like some beehive, cartoon looking beehive head. Nothing really special with these. Then we got more H&H. More H&H lures. And the name of these are, they're called chicken foot lures. I guess because they resemble like a chicken foot, I guess. It says it right here. They're by H&H. It said right there on the tail, chicken foot. They look super cool. I've never seen, I don't see them making these anymore. Never seen one before. Super cool looking. That's how big they are compared to my hand. It's really stretched out. It works for me. That's how big it is. Super cool stuff. Yeah, that's the chicken foot. There's tons of them in here. There's like different sizes ones we have, but I guess they're supposed to resemble a chicken's foot. They probably made different colors. But yeah, like I said in the comments, try to, if y'all know anything about the name, because I don't know anything about the name. I've never seen the brand like that. But there was one more in here by H&H, and there's only one. It's a cool, vintage, old school looking crawfish. It was mixed in with them. There were probably more, but then the guy probably threw them in there. He only spent $20 on the tackle box. Love them. That is super cool lure. But yeah, those are the salt plastics. We just put them in this container. They came in plastic bags. Not the original bags they came into. They look like the ones the guy put into. But we do have something else. We're going to get to the good stuff. We did buy one more salt plastic thing originally in the package. We're going to get that last. Now, we got this Plano tackle box. And we bought it for my brother bought it for $10 in an antique store. I'm going to get it shot. But yeah, you see it. It's got like that, you know how they get that when they're bleached and stuff. We have one. And it was bleached so bad that it was light gray and dark gray. It was no longer green. But inside, we put some stuff in here that I had. I guess I'll show it anyway in the video, because I've never showed it before. A vintage Lazy Ike flatfish lure. The paper originally in the package. Pull it out. I like this one. Grandfather used to have this. It says it on the back. It's like a frog pattern. Like that one. It's called a Lazy Ike Original. Super cool. Like that one. Always did like the flatfish lures. I have tons of them. Should make a video about them. Now, this is a bomber I put in here. We found this on the river shore. Somebody must have took them out and used it and lost it. It's a bomber. An original bomber. Because that's the name of this specific one. The original bomber. I guess they called it bomb because it looks like a bomb, I guess. I don't know the exact name of this pattern. But this is like, I think this, they still made them. They kept on making them. But I don't know if this is the 70s one or the early 80s one. Because the one we're going to show in this video and the other ones, it's going to get cool. But I'll continue about the bombers the more we get into this. I'll move that. Now, you open this up. Oh, I know y'all see what's inside. I'll lean it back. Can't really see inside now. Save the surprise. I bought this at an antique store. The only thing I bought. I was going to buy a vintage man realistic fish jerkbait. I wanted $6 for it, but I think I made a good decision. There was a vintage Zepco 33 with the matching rod. Super cool, but they wanted $17. But this, I think, is the Smiling Minnow. Yes, the Smiling Minnow. Come on. Focuses, but Smiling Minnow A. Medium deep runner. I think, yeah, this is the catalog number. So I think someone ordered this. Or got it from the catalog. It's got the traditional bomber. I think these ones, the ones that were with the plastic, were made in, I think they were made late 70s, early 80s. This specific line. Take it out. Still got everything in this packaging is like perfect. It's a crankbait. This thing has practically been never used. It's got a weight up front. Look at that pattern. I love this lure. It's got no rattle to it. It's medium deep diving. This thing has like never been used. The hooks are brand new. Hopefully no one changed them out, because sometimes people like to do that. Make the big one surrender. Love Bomber. Bomber used to... I never did like the newer ones, but the older ones are super cool. Super heavy lure though, like very heavy. Now, I guess I'll show this all plastic one. This is... God, never seen this one before. Culprit, whatever, original. I'm not really good with the names because I've never seen this before. Not for human consumption. Original package. They've been opened. I feel like they've never been taken out and used. So what they look like, red and black. You can definitely tell those are old, how small they are. You can always tell a lure if they're old. And back then, the packaging for these old lures used to always be... Some of them used to always be like this size, small. Always like to find the old vintage Gary Yamamoto packages and the old Zoom. We do have an old Zoom. It's a little swim bait. Original, it's an older one. Now... let's keep on going, shall we? I bought this at the second antique store we went to. While I'll talk about it, peel the tape off the back, because that's where the price tag was. Went there. They had tons of tackle boxes. They had one that was some newer Plano one. Had not much old stuff in it, like a couple new stuff and like a couple old stuff. Mostly crappy. Second one was a big Plano one. It was like 90s, late 90s. Too bad when I was having doubts. Because when I first opened it, it had catfish stuff. When I opened the bottom, which sucked, because you couldn't pick anything out of it. They wanted too much money for it. They had vintage lizard saw plastics. And man's lure, soft plastics. And they also had a vintage man's lipless crankbait. I forgot, I knew the name. They have a lightning bolt on the side. But yeah, now I found this in the shelf. This is a vintage flying lure crawl tail. From like, back then they used to do the as seen on TV on there. This, I was not passing up. They wanted $8 for it. Perfect. The cool thing about this, it's never been opened. It's got little cracks on the side because of the plastic. But the super cool thing about these are, some people make videos about these old TV lures. The cool thing about them is that when you put the hook through, you put them through the back side, right here. Not the back side, but the front. And when you throw them in the water, throw them in front of a brush, or like a log, halfway underwater, they drop, and then you jerk them, and then they shoot back in the water underneath brush. That was a super cool thing about this. It says it on the back. Love this cool lure. There was another TV lure we found today, but not today, but never got it. Probably should have. It was some crawfish. Almost reminded me of a Rebel crawfish, but it was not. Yeah, it's got the blue. It says it on the front too. It's a big the packaging on. They're not that, they're like as long as my finger. They're super cool. Now, I'll let them right there. Now, we're going to get to the final good stuff. I bought these two things, but first we're going to start with one of them. This is what my brother bought. He bought a vintage cotton cordell redfin jerkbait. And this thing is big. Original cotton cordell. You can never pass up on the cotton cordell. I think they wanted $8 for it, I think, or $10. They had vintage Rapala baits when they first started making them. When their logo was like, the Rapala sign was like different, more cursive-y. This redfin is, it almost looks like a bleeding fish bait. This thing is like, it's been used. You can see bite marks. You see whoever had it had string still on it. But this thing is like not even bad. Looked like they caught something big because it bent the front hook up. That is like the old school jerkbait. Vintage jerkbait. I didn't look up the date for them. But I went to a fishing store, tackle store. Like a local tackle store. Like, they're not like 100 of them out there. Somebody was selling the vintage Pose wooden crate. They used to come with 3 of them. And they're selling a bunch of vintage cotton cordell jerkbaits. And they had them in there in a glass case full of other stuff they're selling. Went up to the guy, I was like, hey, y'all selling those Pose and cotton cordell? He said, no, if I did, my boss will fire me. I said, okay, don't want to get you fired. Guess it was something their boss had when he was younger. Yeah, that's the cotton cordell. Now, let's keep it going. See how much is left in there. Oh, let me get to the last bomber. Brother bought this for $15. This came out the same date as the Smiling Minnow. This is the vintage Water Dog. I think they came out 1981. The vintage Water Dog. So I love this bait. It says they were made in Texas. No, it doesn't say it on this one, but it does say it on this one. It's a cool thing. On the back, they would show all the ones that came out. Got the original bomber, Water Dog, deepest diving lure ever designed. I guess at the time it was the deepest diving one before they got to the super deep diving ones. I love to find the vintage Bushwhacker. Was a vintage spinnerbait. The Speed Shad, the Pinfish, and the Spinner Minnow. I haven't looked those up because I don't know what those look like yet. But the Water Dog is big. I think if I'm correct, they made 2 different sizes. They made 3. This is the largest. Cool thing about these they're wooden. Wooden with the aluminum bills. I think they're aluminum. With a little tiny, they always had that little tiny blade on the back. Look at that. They made 3 different sizes, I think. They made like the small one, it was only like 2 humps. It was like that big where my finger stopped. Then they made another 3 one, but it was smaller. This middle part was smaller. They made this one, the large one. I love these old bombers. There's something about the vintage bombers that are super cool. It's like a pain getting it back in here. Because like whoever had this before was like shoved it in there. And yeah, it's been through a lot. Someone taped this up. Guess they pulled it apart. Getting in here is like another story. Oh, put that down. Come on, bait. I might have to put this away later because it's kind of hard-headed. This thing's always been difficult time to put away. Alright, I'm putting that away later because that will take me a while. Get to the last two holy grails of this find, or the day. This is a vintage Begley's crankbait. Made out of basil wood. No, it's not made on that. But this is a vintage Begley's crankbait. It's made out of wood. The problem was they wanted $10 for it. I wasn't passing it up. Because this thing is like, packaging is perfect. It's got that in it. And the inside, ooh. The problem with this crankbait is a sad thing. It's cracked. Problem with these old wooden ones. But it's not that bad. I think someone put new hooks on here. Or they just never used it. I'm going to show you the cool thing about the inside though. Well, this is how big it is. It's super big. It isn't even a deep diving. This flips open to... Yes, this is the little code that they give you. Right here, yes. This is the black on fire yellow. Because look right there, it says the little numbers. It says it right up top. So 3, yes. It's model 3. Colors available. You got the pearl white, silver shiner, gold shiner, yellow perch, yellow coach dog, white coach dog, solid black. Too bad it wants to load. Yellow bar fish, white bar fish, fire yellow bar fish. And like the inside is like perfect. Love it. This is all the stuff. Instructions for fishing. Cannot believe they would give someone instructions for fishing, but yes, there were people back then that sucked. And they needed, well, and this is like new at the time, but this isn't the holy grail. We have some of these, but I'm about to show you the lure. We have some, but we had the ones from the 90s. And these are like one of the first crankbaits, I think. Before we get into that, I got one more thing to show. This was $3 back then. It's from Sears. Let me get to the final. The Holy Grail. The best lure, and I think one of the first crankbaits they ever made. The vintage Cotton Cordell Silver Big O crankbait. Look at that. Too bad the tag's a little worn, but Big O. In all its glory, the Cotton Cordell. When they started making crankbaits. Oh, look at that. And they made them really big and heavy. It's got a rattle to it. Look at that coloring. It's got the traditional big, bulgy eyes with the bills that are the same color as the body. Look at that. You can tell it's older. You got the glued on glitter. It says Big O on the side. It says Cordell. This is an old school. This is vintage. I'm looking for an exact date on this. I'm still doing my research. The inside is see where the original stamp, the series and color stamp, and the vintage P.O. box. Cordell Tackle Inc. Incorporated. Hot Springs. Ooh. Hot Springs Ark. This is for Arkansas. crazy. Super crazy. It's like the Begleys in this was sitting there and they wanted $10 each. So I was like, yep, I'm getting it. I noticed online these go for like $7, $8 out of the package, but I've really never seen one with the package. So awesome. I just, that was like one of the best days. Day and yesterday. Not yesterday, but Saturday. Best ever. But yeah, this is the end of the video. You guys like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next cool tackle haul.